Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Mona Kosarabdi. Here are the top 5 things to know this Thursday. Number 1, former Vice President Joe Biden making it official.
Biden launching his third bid for the White House in a video this morning. He's joining a large pool of candidates as the frontrunner. Biden's first campaign event is set for Monday. He is expected to host a rally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a key battleground state Democrats need to win. Number 2, President Trump is refusing to cooperate as House Democrats issue subpoenas in the wake of the Mueller report, dismissing them as politically motivated.
The president said the Mueller investigation was probably the most thorough probe in U.S. history. He then went to call the subpoena for former White House counsel Don McGahn ridiculous.
We're fighting all the subpoenas. Look, these aren't like impartial people. The Democrats are trying to win 2020. They're not going to win with the people that I see. And they're not going to win against me. The only way they can luck out is by constantly going after me on nonsense.
The president claimed to be the most transparent president ever. He also said that if Democrats try to impeach him, he would take it all the way to the Supreme Court. On to number 3, a suburban Chicago community is in mourning after the tragic developments in the search for a missing 5-year-old.
Vigils were held last night for AJ Friend. They came hours after police discovered what they believed to be his body about 10 miles from his home. Police have charged AJ's parents with his murder. Investigators are vowing justice for the little boy.
To AJ's family, it is my hope that you may have some solace in knowing that AJ is no longer suffering and his killers have been brought to justice. To AJ, we know you're at peace playing in heaven's playground and are happy you no longer have to suffer.
AJ's younger brother remains in protective custody. The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services is reviewing its interactions with AJ's family to determine if mistakes were made. We head to Texas for number 4, where severe weather is spawning tornadoes and flash flooding.
A suspected tornado touched down overnight near St. Augustine. And a dramatic rescue was caught on camera near Austin. Following torrential rains, Good Samaritans discovering a pickup truck upside down in a flooded median with the driver still inside. The group flipping the car back over. The driver clearly dazed but alive after finding an air pocket in the truck. And finally, number 5, a movie event unlike any other.
We're only hours away from the first screenings of Avengers Endgame. When the 22nd film in the Marvel Studios saga opens tonight, it will land on more screens than any movie ever has in the U.S. and Canadian theaters. AMC theaters will stay open 72 hours straight.
And we've got so much more to talk about coming your way.
Endgame, it's finally here. It's Morning America. Let's go. Good morning, everyone. I'm hyped for a good reason.
So Will told me the ending to the Endgame Avengers.
Shut
You want to
up.
hear?
Oh,
Just kidding. I don't know anything.
I didn't mean to ball my fist up like
Oh,
that.
whoa.
I don't mean to be so violent and
Domestic
aggressive.
violence? Can y'all call someone for me,
No,
please?
$1 billion expected this weekend for opening weekend. And typically I don't go to movies like this on an opening weekend, but
You are.
I had to get in there. I just had to.
Who are you rooting for? Is that a thing? Do you root for someone?
Yeah, of course. I'm rooting for the Avengers.
Oh.
Heard somebody laugh back there.
They're like a team.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Everyone is waiting for this one. Again, they are probably lining up as we speak, even though they've got tickets, but they want to make sure if they don't have assigned seats, they got really good seats inside the theater.
Will did say, because it's a 3.5-hour movie or 3-hour movie?
It's a 3-hour movie.
He said, go to the bathroom when the Hulk is eating lunch. And that's all he would tell us.
Which I still think is a little bit of a spoiler, but he actually will talk a little bit more about that when he gives a little bit of a refresher course for you guys. If you haven't, maybe you don't remember some of the things happened in the other 21 movies.
Oh, 21.
Marvel and the Marvels franchise there. I know you need that help as well.
I'm going to watch the first movie this weekend. That's what I'll do.
Oh, there you go.
Catch up. I'll watch Game of Thrones this weekend, actually.
Okay. Well, let's get to that big story. Former Vice President Joe Biden launching his third bid for the White House in a video announcement. Take a look.
We saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. And in that moment, I knew the threat to this nation was unlike any I had ever seen in my lifetime. The core values of this nation, our standing in the world, our very democracy, everything that has made America America is at stake. That's why today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
And there you have it. Biden is joining a large pool of candidates with high expectations. ABC's Elizabeth Hurd joins us from Washington with the details. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Kenneth, good morning. And yes, we've known for a while it wasn't a matter of if, but when. And yes, Joe Biden may be ahead in many polls, but he knows he has a lot of catching up to do. This morning, big announcement from Joe Biden.
Today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
In a video message, the former vice president ending months of speculation and becoming the 20th Democrat to join the 2020 race.
I believe history will look back on 4 years of this president and all he embraces as an aberrant moment in time. But if we give Donald Trump 8 years in the White House, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation.
This is his third time running for president after serving nearly 40 years in the Senate and 2 terms as vice president under Barack Obama. But his road to the nomination, not without hurdles. This time around, the 76-year-old is entering the race with many but not all polls showing him as the frontrunner. Already, he has had to address past interactions with women who claimed he crossed the line with unwanted kisses and hugs.
Social norms have begun to change, they've shifted, and the boundaries of protecting personal space have been reset. And I get it. I get it.
And while he may be leading in most polls, Biden is trailing when it comes to fundraising. ABC News learning from sources, his team is already planning a big donor event, hoping to prove he can raise the type of money Senator Bernie Sanders and Mayor Pete Buttigieg have in the first 24 hours of announcing their bid for the White House. Biden's first campaign event is set for Monday, where he is expected to host a rally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a key battleground state Democrats need to win. Kenneth and Mona?
You are right about that. No coincidences there. And again, we know that Joe Biden, that's his birthplace, Scranton, Pennsylvania, so he's going to be back in the Commonwealth for that big rally. All right, thanks to Elizabeth Hurd in Washington.
Now we want to get right to our political team in D.C. for more analysis, and Rick Klein joins us. Rick?
I'm ABC News political director Rick Klein here with Molly Nagel, one of our campaign reporters. So Joe Biden finally in. Long-awaited announcement is finally here. We've seen the campaign video. What do you expect to see in these first hours of the Biden campaign?
I think there's going to be a lot of focus on fundraising here. This campaign is coming in essentially with no money behind it. And we've already seen an indication from Joe Biden's team that they're going to be looking to increase those fundraising numbers. We know that he's looking into a possible fundraiser tonight in Philly. Unclear if Biden himself will be at that fundraiser. But clearly this is important to them. They know that they're going to face some comparisons to other candidates who have had high fundraising numbers.
The money race is real. Another high number is the number of candidates, 20 candidates. So Joe Biden is number 20, but in some ways the first among those equals. At least that's what his campaign is going to argue. A lot of folks have been defining the Democratic Party around Joe Biden. What does he and his team have to do in these initial days of the campaign to define who Joe Biden is, what kind of candidate he'll be?
I think he needs to, number one, meet expectations. He's leading the polls in nearly every poll that's come out here. So I think it's going to be important for him to show that he is that front runner and can solidify himself as such. I also think that it's important that he gets across his message, that he is going to be focusing on those white working class voters that he feels the party lost in 2016 and are crucial to making sure the party is back in power in the White House in 2020.
And 40 years of political experience or baggage, maybe both in some cases. What's been your sense, Molly, as we close down here, as to how Biden is going to handle the questions that will come about everything he's done in the past?
Look, they know that these questions are coming. They've already faced them about his stance on busing, about Anita Hill, about even these new allegations that he made women feel uncomfortable by interactions with them. They understand that they're going to face these questions. I think what's important here is how they face them. Do they come out with apologies? Do they acknowledge them head on, or do they try and explain the position away? I think that will tell you a lot about how this campaign will go going forward.
The new focal point for the campaign. For Molly Nagel, I'm Rick Klein. Back to you guys.
Our thanks to Rick Klein and Molly Nagel there in Washington. Biden will be on The View tomorrow for an exclusive interview and will sit down with Robin Roberts on Good Morning America Tuesday, along with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden. You don't want to miss it.
And moving on, President Trump is defying Democratic lawmakers on several fronts, stemming from a range of investigations. The president says he's fighting all subpoenas as Congress tries to follow the money trail and dig deeper into the Mueller report. ABC's Brad Milkey caught up with the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
Hey guys, that's right. You know, there are a host of congressional requests and orders out there. House Democrats want to see the president's finances, his tax returns, and they want some of the people that testified to Robert Mueller to testify for them. Well, President Trump is saying no. On Wednesday, President Trump said he had plans to challenge congressional subpoenas, including to one of the stars of the Mueller report, former White House counsel Don McGahn. Now, I spoke to President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and I asked him, if you've already allowed somebody to testify once, can you suddenly turn around and say that testimony is privileged?
Well, because in the case of Mueller, there was a sense that, number one, it's within the executive branch of government. Number two, even though there were questions about the biases of a number of the angry Democrats that he had working for him, it was a Justice Department investigation in which you had to assume there was some level of good faith.
But is good faith a reason to turn down what is like Congress can, you know, they've got the power of judges and courts and sometimes the Department of Justice behind them,
Didn't the
right?
Attorney General of the Obama administration refuse to comply with a subpoena for 3 years? Nobody put him in jail. Nobody said anything about it. And he didn't have any of the reasons that they have. I mean, you can only go so far in harassing the president without violating the Constitution. They have gone way past that line.
And, you know, he said this goes beyond subpoenas. He also said President Trump would have a case if he asked the Supreme Court to intervene on impeachment proceedings. Now, other legal scholars have told us the Constitution makes it clear Congress has complete control over impeachment. We'll have the entire interview with Rudy Giuliani on Start Here later this morning. Listen on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app. Kenneth, Mona?
And Deutsche Bank has started turning over President Trump's financial documents to the New York State Attorney General's office. The AG subpoenaed the bank in March for records related to loans made to President Trump and his business. As one of the Trump organization's most reliable lenders, the German banking giant is facing inquiries from several investigations.
Former Homeland Security Chief Kirstjen Nielsen had apparently struggled in vain to prepare for Russia interference in the upcoming 2020 elections. Sources say Nielsen had been pushing the White House to convene cabinet members to address the issue. But the New York Times says that White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney specifically told Nielsen not to bring the subject up in front of the president because he views talks of Russian meddling as a challenge to the legitimacy of his election victory.
Also breaking overnight, Texas has executed the white supremacist behind a gruesome hate crime. 3 men chained James Byrd Jr. to the back of a truck in June of 1998, dragging him nearly 3 miles on a rural road near the Louisiana border. One of Byrd's killers, John William King, was put to death last night. He's the second person executed for the murder. King's family has created a foundation to fight racially motivated hate.
And Facebook says it could face a record fine from the Federal Trade Commission for privacy violations. Its new financial report, CEO Mark Zuckerberg's company says that fine could be up to $5 billion. Facebook has been accused of not doing enough to protect users' data for years. It is negotiating a financial penalty with the FTC and says it's unclear when a deal will be reached.
All right, well, coming up, the worst measles outbreak in decades.
What parents should know about vaccinating their children. But first, the weather. Here's a cardboard cutout of meteorologist Rob Marciano with your forecast.
Hey, Rob.
Welcome back. Surprising new statistics about measles cases in the U.S. They have reached the highest levels in 25 years. Nearly 700 people have come down with measles in just this year alone, including 2 pregnant women.
And even if you've had the vaccine, there are some important things you should know. This morning, alarming new numbers about the measles, a disease that was declared eliminated in 2000. So far this year, 695 people across the country have been infected by the disease. That's the most in decades. The majority of this year's infections are within communities of unvaccinated people. Measles is highly contagious, but the CDC says the best way to protect yourself is to be vaccinated. Even if you had the vaccine years ago, experts say it's still effective.
This vaccine is considered to give you lifelong immunity, so no booster shot is needed with this vaccine.
And if you can't remember if you have the second follow-up shot,
in an outbreak setting, one dose is considered to be sufficient because it protects you 93%. But if you're unsure, there is no harm in getting a second dose.
some measles patients are babies who are too young to get the vaccine, which is recommended by the CDC for anyone older than 12 months.
It's really frustrating. I mean, babies Walter's age, they rely on the herd immunity. They're too young to get vaccinated.
Sarah Bloom says her infant son, who's under the age of 1, was hospitalized for a week after getting the measles.
I don't know where he got it from, but his immune system is compromised. It only takes a moment to get exposed.
Parents with children under 1 are urged to take typical steps that stop the spread of germs and limit the baby's exposure to crowds. Now, most of the measles cases are in New York and Washington state, but Los Angeles has 7 new cases.
Well, let's go across the pond to the London Bureau, where Lama Hassan is keeping an eye on the biggest international news. Good morning, Lama. Let's start in Sri Lanka, where there are new details in the investigation into the Easter bombings. What are we hearing from our team on the ground there?
Yeah, and good morning to you guys. Well, a few headlines coming out of Sri Lanka this morning. According to a police spokesman, there was another explosion, this time taking place in a small town east of the capital, Colombo. This was not a controlled explosion, which is what we have been seeing over the last few days. The police spokesman saying it was a blast. They are investigating. Fortunately, no one was hurt, which probably explains the partial lockdown, if you like, that's taking place in the capital, Colombo. Today, we spoke to our producer, Bruno Rober, who told us that police are on the hunt for possibly more bombers and more bombs out there. And that's why there's a lockdown. They've asked people to stay indoors so that they can conduct searches. Bruno also adding that there's a real fear that something else might happen. The situation is pretty tense there. So that's the latest that we're hearing from our producer on the ground there in Colombo.
Okay, thank you for that, Lama. And let's head to Russia. In fact, we're going to the easternmost part of Russia, where Kim Jong-un is meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who says he welcomes Kim's efforts to normalize relations with the U.S. So what else are they saying?
Yeah, so this is an interesting meeting between North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un and the Russian President Vladimir Putin, which has now ended. They met for a little under 2 hours. They basically said they exchanged pleasantries as well as a few opinions on the nuclear dispute, on the nuclear issue. The Russian president basically saying that they exchanged opinions again and that there's good prospect for improvement, but not really giving any more details or talking about anything concrete, which is why some analysts are really talking about this, describing it as more about the optics. This meeting is more about the optics rather than the substance. And let's not forget about when this is taking place, this meeting, the timing of this. This is taking place 2 months after the talks broke down with the US. So this is North Korea essentially saying we've got other powerful allies in Russia.
Definitely a show of force there. All right, this next story I'm really excited about. A big announcement is expected today on the next James Bond film. Please tell us what we're supposed to find out.
Lama, are they bringing back Pierce Brosnan or something?
No,
What's going on here?
So listen, I've got to just tell you, firstly, I'm not a huge James Bond fan, so please excuse me. I will try to give you as many details as I can. So yes, brace yourselves, James Bond fans, because today, the 25th official Bond movie will be launched. Apparently, the launch is taking place at one of 007's most iconic locations. We were discussing this earlier at the news desk. I said maybe Buckingham Palace, perhaps the Houses of Parliament. I don't know where you think this launch will take place. We do know that 007 will be played by none other than Daniel Craig. Other details about the characters will be also revealed today. The car that apparently 007 will be driving, I have to look this up, Aston Martin Rapide E, which is apparently an electric car. So one of our producers here, Rashid Hadou, who's sitting behind me, said maybe James Bond is going green for this installment. Their theme tune, that all-important theme tune. Well, apparently Dua Lipa is touted as singing it, but all of this, so many questions will be revealed later today. And I know you guys can't wait. I can.
Lama, you said you can, because I'm trying to think, why would Lama not be a fan of someone who's misogynistic, womanizing, and alcoholic who drives dangerously, kills people.
Took it there.
I can probably see why
that.
you have a problem with James Bond in 2019.
But she did hint that he might show up in a Prius. That might be the new from an Aston Martin.
It's an Aston Martin. Aston Martin, but the sort of the green kind.
Oh,
This is the green kind of Aston Martin, a hybrid, if they even make those. Maybe he's changed his ways in 2019.
We'll find
Maybe
out.
he's going to get married. He's in a serious relationship now.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, who knows? We'll find out later today.
Lama, thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. It's good to see you. All right, so let's check our notifications to see what's trending online today, starting with some new words. Oh, this is fun. We actually asked you the other day what words you would add to the dictionary. Janae said Baldilocks because she's dumb.
You're coming in guns blazing.
Right. And that didn't make it, but here are some that did. Buzzy.
Okay. Swole. EGOT.
Yep.
Stan. Snowflake.
So we know that Buzzy is for things that are buzzy and cool. EGOT for the Emmy, Golden Globe, Oscar, Tony
Stan
as well.
Stan always reminds me of Dear Slim. I wrote you, but you still ain't calling.
I love that song.
That's where it came from. So apparently it's like an obsessive fan. That's what a stan is.
Right, and then of course, snowflakes is a political word now about people who are sensitive. All Democrats, Republicans are all using snowflake. You can't have the nice snowflake you used to have before. That's what the word used to be, but now, there you go. That's Merriam-Webster adding 600 words or so, and those are a few of the top
ones. You hear that every now and then, don't you?
Right there. Let me just get that into view so you can see that. All right, so watch this little girl excited to see Stitch at Disney. So she takes a little tumble. So you see what Stitch did there. It's like, you know what? I'm going to take a tumble as well. We're going to laugh about it. You're going to love me even more. Your parents are going to spend more money here at Disney. It's going to be so great because you're going to be so happy. And remember that Disney is also within the parent company. Disney is the parent company of ABC News, but Disney Park is also within the company. We got to tell you that. We have to tell you that. Yes. So also look at this puppy having trouble getting out of a bathtub.
This is so adorable. Apparently they put him in there, but he could just not get himself out. And then they just watched him struggle.
Aww. You know who's not struggling? This shark to get the snack. The dog was not the snack.
Check this out. A close encounter with a great white shark in the Keys. These fishermen were trying to catch some yellowtail snappers, but they caught something else instead. Clearly a famished shark that grabbed onto a bait bag and started snacking.
Oof,
he came back for seconds too.
The shark moved on after eating the fish parts. Great white sightings are rare for the Keys. The woman who took the video says she has never seen anything like it.
Oh man, she'll never forget that day. Look at that.
Well, coming up, everything you need to know before you see Avengers Endgame.
Will Gans will give you the cliff notes in just 60 seconds, so stick around.
Welcome back. A few things to watch out for coming up today. Prince William is visiting New Zealand on behalf of the Queen to honor the victims of the mosque shootings in Christchurch. Meanwhile, the NRA annual convention kicks off today in Indianapolis. President Trump and Vice President Pence will address the group tomorrow.
And the NFL draft starts tonight. The Arizona Cardinals have the first pick, and experts say they're likely to take this year's Heisman Trophy winner, Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray. Plus, don't forget to tune into the debrief for an update on all our top stories and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
All right, so here to talk about a draft tonight is Will Gans, everyone. No, he's not here to talk about the draft. It's like he knows nothing about the draft, and so we will say...
Which Avengers disappears?
Yeah, that I can talk about.
So yes, Will is here because in case you haven't heard, a little film called Avengers Endgame is flying into theaters tonight, smashing box office records already. It is the final chapter of an era of Marvel movies spanning more than a decade.
But if you don't remember all 21 movies that led up to this one, don't worry, Will Gans is here with your crash course and not on the draft.
Not on the draft, no. We'd be here for a while, a lot longer than 60 seconds. All right, listen, before you and your own super squad, I've got mine right here, go see Avengers Endgame this weekend. I'm hooking you up with a last-minute Avengers crash course. And it's all in less than 60 seconds. So are you guys ready? Thanos snap in 3, 2, 1. There have been 21 movies leading up to Endgame, beginning with Iron Man back in 2008. RDJ was sarcastic and kind of grumpy then.
I'm just not the hero type.
And flash forward a decade, he's still kind of grumpy, but way more nuanced and has picked up a few friends along the way, aka the Avengers. We last saw Iron Man and his pals at the end of Avengers Infinity War, when half of life in the universe was wiped out by this guy, Thanos. You know he's evil because he's purple. Ursula, purple and evil. This guy from McDonald's, definitely purple and probably evil. Anyway, who did Thanos turn to dust? Black Panther, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, all of the Guardians of the Galaxy except one, and so many more.
Well,
how did Thanos do it? He controls all 6 Infinity Stones. Now the remaining Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, are ready to bring down this bad guy. Luckily, some other Marvel superheroes weren't turned to dust and can help. Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, Rocket the Raccoon. That's where we're picking up with Endgame. Other things to remember, Thanos has 2 adopted daughters, Gamora and Nebula. The Marvel Universe is no stranger to time travel. Cumberbatch, big fan.
whatever it takes.
You should definitely see Infinity War before you see Endgame. I promise it'll help. So my final thoughts for those of you heading into theaters tonight or this weekend: buy all the snacks you can before you go to your seats. I got hungry like 20 minutes in, but you can't leave once the movie starts. There's too much that you can miss. But if you absolutely must get up during the movie, go during the scene when the Hulk is having lunch about an hour into the film. It's not a spoiler.
I feel like that's still a spoiler.
He's not snacking on the Infinity Stones. Like it's.
Wait, so maybe I thought that he was gonna snack on the Infinity Stones. So anything you say, you're just messing it up, Will.
So what Avenger is your favorite?
Coming out of this movie, my favorite Avenger. Am I allowed to answer this?
No, you're not. Actually, I don't want to even say that because I actually know what he wants to happen in the movie. Don't tell me. And also, that actually leads us to our question of the day, which is, who is your favorite Chris, who's an Avengers actor?
I love this.
So out of the Avengers
so
actors,
you've got Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans,
and
Chris Pratt.
And Chris Pine.
And
Chris Pine is not in it. Chris Pine is not in that.
Wait a minute.
That's Star Trek. That's a whole other thing. So yeah, let us know. Tweet us, ABC News Live.
Ooh.
Isn't that a good one? Which one? Which Chris?
I'm gonna go with Chris Hemsworth.
Okay, and you did say he was funny in this one.
Choice.
So finally, also a question for Mona is, who's Thanos?
He's the what is an Avenger?
He's the bad guy.
Oh my God, he's a bad guy. The Thanos.
See, obviously she didn't watch your refresher
at
all. And just know, folks, that Thanos also snaps, because he got that from Beyonce. Snap for the kids, snap for the kids, snap for the kids. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's it for us. I'm pretty sure many of you are going to go watch Avengers. Will already did. She needs to go see all 21 movies and the Avengers. We will see you tomorrow. It's going to be Friday.
You got the bad guy?
Oh my gosh, insane.